Alas, after 2 weeks of having Felicity in the shop getting fixed, we finally had her back, and just in time for an incredible severe weather setup over Saskatchewan and Manitoba. After baking in the hot sun for a few hours near Langenburg, Saskatchewan, a storm finally began to fire just north of Indian Head, Saskatchewan around 4:30 p.m. It was go time. We made our way towards Grayson, Saskatchewan to get into position to intercept this storm just as it was beginning to ramp up. By the time the storm actually reached Grayson, it had strengthened to the point where it was already developing a large rotating wall cloud. Those tuning in on Facebook and YouTube, we are just north of, I don't even know what that town is. The storm was really beginning to pick up some speed at this point, so we started moving eastward towards Saskatchewan Highway 9 to stay ahead of it. At this point, we were directly under the Meso as this storm began to take shape as a beautifully structured supercell right in front of us. continued to track this storm eastward towards Zenita up until the point where we came across this roadblock. The road looked like a through road on Google Maps, but unfortunately there was a barricade across it. So I hopped out of my truck to talk to Sean and discuss what we were going to do to get around this roadblock. However, when I got back in my truck, I discovered that my transmission would not shift out of park. It appeared that the neutral safety switch had gotten stuck, and at the worst possible time. As I was struggling to figure out what the issue was, my phone started going off with an alert. This storm was now tornado warned, and I was stranded. Thankfully, it didn't take me long to fix the issue, and I was back on the road again within minutes.
I don't know.
Oh, of course, a tornado warning. Okay. Got it.
That was weird.
Uh-huh.
Has it ever done that before?
No. Something must have just gotten stuck. Jammed or something. I knew as soon as I heard the locks go that it unlocked. Alright, what are our options here? And of course, moments after fixing the shifter, we almost hit 2 moose on the back road while we try to get ahead of this tornado warning. Gotta love chasing in Canada.
Is that a moose up there?
Yeah, looks like it. Yep, 2 moose.
Don't try to stop, baby. Go.
If there's one thing I've learned in my years of chasing, it's to not trust Google Maps when you're chasing in Saskatchewan.
Continue for 1.5 kilometers.
Good. After being led astray down multiple dead-end roads and ending up in an abandoned farmyard, we did manage to make our way back to a highway eventually. Once we were on the highway, we were able to catch up to this tornado-warned storm at Gerald, Saskatchewan. This was the point where things started to get really exciting. This storm was starting to produce absolutely incredible structure and was even trying to produce a couple funnel clouds, especially along Highway 8 just south of Langenberg. About this time, we started noticing a funnel cloud was developing right beside us, so we pulled over on the side of the highway to take a better look. After watching for a few seconds, we quickly realized that this funnel cloud was coming directly for us, so we made the decision to turn around and go back the way we came. After getting back into a safe position a couple miles down the road, we pulled over to watch and see if this funnel ended up developing into a tornado, which it did not. Only a short moment later, this storm started producing another funnel cloud. This one was much stronger and much more defined, but once again, did not end up touching down. After those couple of brief funnel clouds in Saskatchewan, the storm moved into Manitoba, taking on a more outflow dominant storm style, but producing some absolutely incredible structure, so we pulled over to take a few photos. It was starting to get pretty dark at this point, but the lightning was becoming incredible, so we decided to pull over and watch the lightning as the storm rolled by us. This storm would remain tornado warned for a total of 5 hours, all the way from Esterhazy, Saskatchewan to Gladstone, Manitoba. I continued to chase this storm all the way home to Portage la Prairie, and while there were no confirmed tornadoes on it, it did produce some devastating baseball-sized hail for many areas in Manitoba, especially areas just north of Highway 16. I pulled over just east of Gladstone, Manitoba around 2 in the morning to try to get in front of the hail and see exactly how big it was. Unfortunately, the road that I chose to sit on ended up turning into a lake as the wind gusts on the front of the storm started pushing floodwaters from previous storms onto the road, washing it out, so I had to get back to the highway before I could get into the hail. I called it a night at this point as the storm was starting to move over Lake Manitoba, and I was already pretty much back home to Portage. This ended up being one of the greatest Canadian storm chases I've been on in many years, and it makes me excited to see what's to come for the rest of the season. So you can be sure we'll see you under the Meso.